necessary to hire an in-house experienced designer, or can we just get away with hiring a contractor? When I was asked to talk on this subject, my first thought was, awesome. People want experienced designers. Yay. It's such an exciting time for our industry right now, and it's great to know that we've gotten to a place where we're no longer considering the need of an experienced designer, but instead we're looking for a way to better understand how to integrate them into our team and our processes. But wait, when I think about it, this question has 3 misconceptions that I've seen out in the real world quite a bit, and I'd like to explain a few of those before I give you the answer to the question. So the first misconception is that the experienced design role isn't as important as the other roles in the company. So it's an option to get by without a dedicated person. I mean, you never really hire a contract CEO or a CTO. I've rarely even heard of a contract creative director. So why do we think we can get by without an experienced director? Do we really want our strategy and our interaction model defined and owned by a temporary staffer? I mean, most of the projects we do, the experience and the interaction design is the product. So, and startups are launching and dropping like flies every day, and it's not a really great leap to think that maybe this lack of experienced design leadership is part of the issue. My hope is that every project has a dream team consisting of the perfect balance of talents. Like these guys. How do we think they would make it if BA just popped in from time to time? I couldn't decide if experienced design was BA or Murdoch. It could be Hannibal, but I guess it depends on the team. But my point is that with any endeavor, you need the perfect balance of talent and perspective, and each one needs to be considered just as important as the next. And I'd love to see this team be the new standard. So the second misconception is that your product will do fine with just a little bit of experienced design sprinkled in. I mean, the question implies that in addition to not needing a person fully integrated into the team, that experienced design can be applied sparingly and discreetly. I've heard people say many times, well, the whole company is responsible for the user experience. Well, that's nice, but it's not the same thing as having a true experienced design process in place. And the third question, experienced design is not a commodity. It's not a luxury. It's not an a la carte sort of things. It's not just bringing in a UX designer to do discrete tasks like user research and wireframing, but it's about having someone there to weave a thread of consistency by holding the torch of project and user goals and to create a process that's responsive and forward-thinking. And the third one, you only have 2 choices. You either get a dedicated full-time staff person or uncommitted contractor. So, as it stands, if you really believe in the design process, you're faced with the choice of having someone in-house at big cost, if you can find someone, or you bring in somebody from the outside whose contributions will be limited. This is a difficult position, seeing that we've already decided that the role is just as important as the rest of the roles, and that you can't just sprinkle it on top. So let's imagine that there's a third choice, and I'll get to that in a second. So if we reject all that stuff and kind of start over again, the question that we really want to ask is it possible to get the full benefit of an experienced designer's most necessary and important contributions when working in a non-employee relationship? And I say yes, absolutely yes. Although it's kind of a complicated question, and I would love to say no. I would love to say that every startup, for example, should have an experienced design founder. But as it is right now, the non-employee relationship to me seems like better for both the designer and for the business. As much as I love being part of a team in the traditional fashion, experienced design is the type of work that benefits from variety and constant change. Businesses, it's okay. Go out and find someone who's working on multiple projects at once. They'll often be someone who's nimble, excited, and generous, and they're ready to share their skills with the larger community. But I say all of this with a caveat. To do this, we must start changing our thinking about the non-employee role. In a typical contractor relationship, we never quite have enough authority to do our job correctly. We miss key pivot points, and we're often brought in too late to do what we do best. But we also don't have the established relationships necessary to guide and steer the product design process by working closely with the other teammates. So, bring them into the team, not just the process. You have to bring the experienced designer into the inner fold, and not just to perform tasks on a roadmap. Financial relationship and physical location are not important. What is important is to have somebody there committed to the project over a long term and integrated into the organization at the highest level. Designers, dudes, we really need to make ourselves more available to projects. We don't have the luxury to hide ourselves away in companies for years. It's such a busy, busy time for our industry, and there are very few senior experienced designers out there. I think it's the responsibility for each one of us to make ourselves available to the wider community and for this next wave of innovation. I mean, every single time a project moves forward without an experienced designer, the god of brilliant, successful project dies just a little bit. So here's how you do it real quick. Think of them as everybody's buddy. Schedule working sprints for this person around the major pivot points of each discipline. So on this diagram, I'm just demonstrating some of the primary activities within a product design process. And the spiral is that product design process kind of moving through each of those major pivot points and disciplines over and over again. And here, the yellow circles, and I'll put this online later so you can tell me what you think, but the yellow circles are showing all of the different places where experience design is necessary for a project to succeed super well. So let's see here. So in addition to this and all of these different pivot points and working really closely with each of the other disciplines on the team, you need to include them in all major discussions, CC them on email, and keep them in the loop when they aren't currently working on something. And finally, don't think of them as a contractor, think of them as a colleague. Thank you.